Hello, Target Apex here, back with another Club 100 karting video. We start the season at Pigeon for round number 1 for the Lightweight Sprint Championship. As it's the first round, I'm just going to do a quick format overview of this championship for those Club 100 newbies. If you know how it works or you don't really care, that's fair enough. Skip forward about a minute or so, and I'm just going to get on with the format now. So for lightweights, which is the one I enter into, there's a minimum weight of 78 kilograms. If you don't make this weight, there are options. You could have a leaded seat insert, or you could put lead on the weight posts. I put about 10 kilograms on, so there's absolutely no excuses if you're underweight. There's 3 classes, C1, C2, C3, Elite, Middle and Rookie. I was in the Rookie last year, but I moved up to the Middle this year. There's 12 heats, each person does 3 heats. Everyone's average starting position in the 3 heats is the same. So you'll have a top, middle and bottom starting place, so they all work out roughly the average the same. Apart from the C3s that have the same principle of the top, middle and bottom starting position, but they start at the back of the grid of each of the heats. So you qualify for an A, B or a C final, so the person with the most points from the heats will be on pole for the A, and the least will be on the back row of the C final. The top 4 in the C final qualify for the B final, so they'll start at the back of the grid for the B final, and the top 2 in the B final qualify for the A final, so they'll start at the back of the A final. Trophies for the C and B final winners are on the day, and also the top 3 in each class for the day as well. So, and obviously all the points from each round go towards the championship as well. Alright, on with the racing. Probably should have mentioned that in the format section that each of the heats are 7 minutes and the finals are 12 minutes. At Clay Pigeon, with the lap times that you have around here, they're usually about 10 or 11 laps of the heats. I'm starting in 12th on the grid for my first heat, so this is my bottom finish. And let's get underway as the lights go green, green, green. So we get a decent start, everyone's pretty level, and we go flying around the outside. Everyone tries to pile into the inside to get a good entry into this chicane, which is what happens here. I end up getting back into 12th again, so all those places I made up I lost because I was on the outside of the track. As we come down to the hairpin, the guy in front looking down the inside and managed to make his way through. And I follow him through, which is a great way to overtake. It's just following the guy through, pick the inside line, and off you go. So coming around towards the end of the first lap, it's a very quick lap at Clay Pigeon. You're looking at about 41, 42 seconds on average. Some of the elite drivers were getting to about 41 seconds, so they were quick. So we end lap 2, 1 position up, which is a good start, as someone comes flying down the inside, and we just get him straight back because he's just completely overcooked it on the brakes and runs wide. That was one of my favourite overtaking moves of the day. I see a lot of those where people just misjudge it on the brakes and you're just like, thank you very much, I'll go back up your inside. As we're following here behind this guy, round the horseshoe, into this little right kink, which is pretty much flat out once your tyres are up to temperature. And then the final corner, again, is almost flat out. There's just a little dab of brakes. As we come across the line to start lap number 3. And this guy comes back flying down my inside again. I think I got a little bit of a nudge. But I'm not sure if that was classed as a fair move or not, I don't know. I don't know whether he got a penalty for that, but it is what it is. I think he might have done when I found out after the race. But obviously at the time you don't really know that you just got a race from your perspective and just go for it. As we come into the final corner again already. Run a little bit wide there, just mucked up the entry into the final corner, and I lose a bit of time to the guy in front, which is a shame. As we come into the first corner, Billy's Bend, I think it's called, which is a long right-hander into this very quick chicane, which if you've got optimum conditions, hot tyres, lovely day, no rain, can be flat out as long as you get the 2 curves, one on the right and the one on the left. As we come again into the horseshoe, for this you've got to get nice and close to that apex, and then now I've got a little bit. Now this was the interesting thing here. Actually turns out I got caught in the bumper of that guy, so my front bumper got stuck in the rear of his back bumper, and we had to sort of dislodge ourselves. As we skip forward a few laps, we're now on to lap 9, and this is where it all goes wrong. Bang. and I spin out. I think there was a combination of a few things that happened there. I got a little bit late on the brakes, and he was a little bit early on the brakes than I was expecting, and it just led me to push on the brakes even harder, and as a result I locked the rears and spun, which is a shame, and I fall to the back of the grid, and then we skipped forward another couple of laps to the last lap because it was just free running for that, and from that point onwards, because I dropped right to the back unfortunately. But as you can see, there's a guy that's just spun out there. I think there might have been a bit of contact up ahead or something, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I'm not complaining, I get an extra place as a result. As we come around the final corner onto the straight for the last time, as you can see, I was catching the guys in front, just not enough time in a 7-minute heat, and we're down 5 places from where we started, which is not ideal, but it's a learning curve. As we move on to the second heat, for me, which was heat 7, I seem to remember. The first one was heat 4 of the day, and this is heat 7, and I'm starting P3, which is my highest starting place, and the first time I've ever started up this high, because it's my first race as a C2 driver, so it's going to be an interesting experience. As we get very, very slowly up to the line, the pole sitter's taking nice and steady, and then we go green, green, green. I follow him down to the first corner. Now the aim here is to try and follow this pole sitter through and don't let the guy in front cut back in, which failed, which we didn't manage to do. And as you can see, actually we lose a little bit of time to them in front as well, which is not ideal. But then the guy goes for a savage lunge down the inside. Didn't quite make it happen. As a result, the guy switched him back and got the position straight back again. I ran a little bit wider. I don't know whether I got a little bit of a nudge or just cold tyres, I'm not sure, but it put me out of position for this right kink, and then you'll see down the inside the flying Coppin, as I'm going to call him now. Absolutely savage, very, very fair move, and he's a good driver, is Coppin. Just no defending from that, and I thought, do you know what, if I can just try and keep with him and see what happens. He's a C1 driver, is Coppins, and there's, I think, the pink helmet guy in front, I think he's a C1, and then the yellow helmet is a C2, so if I can try and stay with these C1s, I think I'm doing pretty well, to be fair. So towards the end of the second lap, just behind this guy here, going into the final corner. It's a tricky little final corner because you've got to slightly dab the brakes, but it's almost flat out, although the tyres do start to scream if you try and take it too quickly. You hear the squeal as we go into the chicane. Slightly missed the first curb, but got the one on the left, and a long run down to the hairpin, hard on the brakes as we run a little bit wide, and then switch back over to the other side for the horseshoe. You see I wasn't all the way over to the right, so I must have been defending from a guy behind there. As we come round to finish the lap again, not quite hitting the apex there, that wasn't a great line, which compromised me down the straight. Slipstream effect on the day was absolutely mega, as you'll see in one of the heats later on, or the final. It was so gusty. Oh, as a guy goes up our inside into the chicane, and we're right on his tail. He defends hard to the inside. Can we just switch back? Does he run wide? No. And he's defending again into the horseshoe. And if he manages to get these next 2 corners at the end of the lap spot on, there's not much I can do about it unless I can get a slipstream down the start-finish straight. Just try and stay with him and see what I can do. Just on the edge of slipstream there, just got a little bit of help, but not enough really. So we come into the chicane. You see he's gapped us a little bit. I think it's another C1 driver, that one. Has to defend into the hairpin. And this is where I made a little bit of a mistake. I went far too wide. I should have thought I needed to defend a bit longer. And the guy sneaks up our inside, which again I think is another C1 driver. So it was a bit of a heat of death, this one. There are lots of C1s. So it wasn't an easy one to be starting right up towards the front of the pack. But with my magic editing skills, we now skip forward to the last lap. So I managed to just stay there for 5 laps, which I was really happy about, but I had people barreling down my throw from behind. As you'll see, I defend super aggressively into this hairpin. Somehow, and I still can't work out how, he managed to find a gap down the inside. Don't know whether his wheels were slightly on the grass or not, but then I managed to get back down down the inside of one of them. And you can't see it on the camera, but he's literally about 3 or 4 inches alongside my rear bumper, and I just can't force him to back out of it. And then if you let one through, it's a domino effect. You let more through, and unfortunately I lost 4 places on the final lap. Down 7 places, which is not ideal, but a P10 finish is still good considering there's about 18 or so people in the heats. As we move now on to the final heat of the day, which was heat 11, final for me, but heat 11 of the day. I start in 5th, and we're off. Green, green, green. So it's a good start already. We get a good start on the pole side, up to P4. Got a little nudge in the back there, I think it's just a domino effect. And I just then get all out of position, and I just get absolutely swallowed up. Just nowhere to go. Lost all momentum, and fortunately though, those two, one down the inside, one down around the outside, overcooked on the brakes, and I managed to get them straight back. And when that happens, when you get absolutely swallowed up, you get all out of position. There's not much you can do about it. It's just one of those things. But then you just have to really focus yourself and say, right, okay, it's not gone well on the first lap. It's not too bad. We've only lost 3 places, but you just then got to focus and think, right, okay, let's try and get these positions back. As we go up the inside of one person there into the chicane, so that's 1 back already of those 3. So we're a net loss of 2 now, which overall is not bad at all. As we get a little bit of a tab, you see the back end move out there, and I don't know whether that was a concertina effect of a few cars, because you see 2 go through there, and there's 1 poking his nose around the outside, didn't quite make it happen, or whether there was one guy that just went sailing into the back of me. I don't know, but you just got to take it as it is, hope that maybe one of them might get a penalty at the end of the race, and it won't matter anyway because they're position penalties in Club 100, not time penalties. Depending on the offence, there's different number of positions. As we go through the chicane again, we just got to try and stay on their tail. Now, they've managed to gap us a little bit, which is not ideal, but you see the 2 battling here. That hopefully they're going to slow themselves down and I can get back up behind them, which is the case. You see we've gained, since the run down to the hairpin, we've gained 2, 3, 4 kart lengths. So we're right on his bumper now. It shows you how just a few corners can make such a massive difference. And here's the slipstream, look at that, we're right on his tail. I think I even lifted slightly, otherwise we would have gone into the back of him. And it's so hard, you can't really go around the outside down the start finish straight as we go down his inside in Billy's Bend into the chicane. Because the start finish straight, even though it's not really a straight, it's a little bit of a kink. Because it's flat out, you can't go around the outside unless you're diving down into the inside at Billy's Bend, which, as you'll find out, will come back to bite me in the final. So we're now up into 8th, and we've still got 7 laps left, so it's all going to be about trying to just close down that gap, try and get back into his slipstream. He's not got anyone to slipstream at the moment, so we're both in the same boat. Sometimes when you get a train of 3 or 4 cars that slipstream each other in front of you, and you've got no one, you're fighting a losing battle, unless you can get absolutely every single corner nailed, which is tough. And it was a very gusty day, so the wind was all over in all sorts of different directions, which I know it's not like Formula 1, but it does, I do feel a difference in the karts in terms of where you've got to brake and how fast you can take certain corners. It sometimes just catch you out a little bit. As we come down the start finish kink, I should probably call it, not really a straight, for the lap number 6 around Billy's Bend into the chicane, clipping that curb, clipping that one. That was good good. Maybe not quite enough on the right hand side, but not far off. Someone goes sailing down the inside. I think you can see from the back of his suit, it's Esri, I think his name is. Yeah, there you go. This guy was flying. Big shout out to him. I had a quick chat with him after one of the heats. I think it was the final, but he was absolutely flying. He was one of the C3s, and I think he came from 17th on the grid in this one, up to, well, he will be 8th now if I'm 9th, so yeah. He's one to watch, definitely. If he's not fighting for the C3 championship at the end of the season, something's gone a bit wrong for him. So we follow him through the hairpin, switching over to the other side to get a better entry and exit of the horseshoe. And you can see there's all kind of manners of fighting ahead of us. 2 or 3 karts in a battle, which me and this Esri guy are now joining to the back of. So let's see if we can take advantage of this. As we are, I think we've skipped forward a lap, so we're now on to lap 8. As he goes down the inside, can we make it stick? We can, into the chicane. He had the inside line, so the guy just had to back out. We seem to have got it stuck. A little bit wide there, let's hope he doesn't manage to cut us back at the horseshoe. But now we've got the move done, so we're up into 8th, which is only 3 positions down, because we started 5th in this heat, which is not bad. Not bad. I mean, obviously you want to be gaining positions, but first season in C2 is about not losing as many positions, because obviously last year I only started at the back of the grid every single heat, so it's all about gaining rather than losing in those ones. As it's something, he has a look down, he's got a run on him and he's going down the inside. Now there was a little bit of contact there, but I thought he was alongside enough to warrant the move, but he thought it was a little bit unfair, so he went to let him through, and cheekily I said thank you very much, I'll take you both. There's nothing to stop me doing that, and then it stayed like that really, as we've skipped forward now onto the last lap, and that's how it finished. So we've only actually lost 1 position in that race, which is good, starting from P5. That put me 20th in the B final, which is not, I think my highest starting position was 10th last year in the B final, so it's not my best, but there's room for him. There's definitely, I mean, we can only hopefully go up from here. Well, I say that, watch what happens next. But as we go green, that's lights out, away we go. As we do the same approach I think we did in Heat 2, where we just go around the outside and hope that they all get caught up with each other on the inside and try and work around the outside. But it does pay dividends a little bit. We're up 3 places already, as that guy gets all out of shape there. I don't really know what happened there. And the only place we've got to go is around the outside. We had nowhere else to go. So we just have to hope that not too many people can cut up our inside, but then we get the inside for the horseshoe. So it swings around about, sometimes you're on the outside, sometimes you're on the inside. As a guy squeezes down our inside, I'm not quite sure what happened there, whether I just ran wide, but then again you've got the concertina effect, and everyone just goes past you. Unfortunately, we had a false start in the first start of this final. There was a big incident on the first couple of corners, so normally you get 12 minutes for a final, but according to the regulations, if there's a false start, they knock 2 minutes off your race time. So it was 10 minutes long instead. It's just one of those things. I think it's the first time I've ever had a false start in any of my heats or finals, so they're very rare, but they do happen from time to time. It's better that way than having 5 or 6 karts out of a race, which could be you, just through the first couple of corners, just because it's just a concertina effect sometimes. When one guy spins out, it just ends up being a nightmare. So that guy goes sailing down the inside. Can he make it stick? And he does. Can I capitalise on it? Oh, they get a bit tangled, and I can. I gained 2 places round the outside. They just got all tangled with each other and lost momentum. They were clearly right on my tail because I went super defensive into the hairpin to try and defend those positions. And it looks like we got the job done. So we are now P19, which is a net gain of 1, as we come around the final corner of lap number 3. Let's see how we get on F, and then we skip forward now. We skip forward a couple of laps because it's pretty mundane as the guy comes sailing down my inside, and again we get the cutback. I love that move. That was my favourite of the day. It was very hard to overtake into Billy's Bend without overcooking it on the brakes. So when someone does lunge down your inside, you just take it nice and steady, make sure you get that inside line and accelerate out of the corner hard, and you can cut them straight back. So we're still 19th by the end of the... Oh! Say that. We're not 19th anymore, we're 20th. And now 21st. Fantastic. I did struggle with that final corner, and a few people got me up the inside of that final corner. Oh, and now 22nd. Sometimes it can just be a concertina. One thing goes wrong and then everything goes wrong. That's something I do need to work on, is defending that inside line, as we get absolutely slammed on the inside. Don't know whether that guy got a penalty, but that was a little bit brutal, shall we say. And we lose about 3 positions as a result. And another one. So we're running pretty much at the back of the grid now. Not ideal, as we skip forward quite a few laps. Trying to catch up and trying to make some more moves. Sometimes you have finals that go for you, sometimes you don't. It's one of those things. As they get a bad run, I managed to get a couple of positions there, but obviously I'm on the outside, so they've got the upper hand. Can I force my way through? One guy's right on the outside. Oh, he's going to squeeze through. He's just managed it. Just squeezed through with a little bit of side contact. You won't be able to see it, but the reason I go wide here is because the guy on my inside, I'm trying to hang around the outside, but you just don't have the grip, unfortunately. As someone goes flying down the inside, and again we cut them back. So briefly into last position. Keep going down to the hairpin. And there's a bit of an incident in front, so I managed to gain 1 place out of that. I think I looked back at someone else's footage, and someone locked the brakes and basically just span, and it took another person out wide with them. Which does happen. In the heat of the moment, you do make mistakes. As we go down the start-finish straight on lap number 12, as we get an absolutely epic slipstream. If you guys a quick look behind, can we get down into the inside into Billy Benz? We go for it later on the brakes, and I actually get a 4-place bump and pass penalty and a 1-place cone penalty for that, which I thought was maybe a fraction harsh. I know marshals have to make split-second decisions, and I don't envy their job at all, and I know I'm a bit biased because I'm the one sat in the driver's seat. If anybody thinks I've definitely done anything to warrant that penalty that I haven't spotted, then let me know. I do try and go out racing as fair as possible. I've sometimes been accused of being too nice, so I do try and go for those moves, but if it's my mistake, I move on. It's just one of those things. As we finish 25th after all the penalties have been applied. Thank you for watching this content. Give it a cheeky like and a cheeky subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll be bringing some more of these kinds of videos out very soon.